It was great. It was great to be out there. I love how much this team enjoys practicing and being together. And I think they did such a fantastic job in this offseason with Coach Carroll and his staff. And everyone's really, really prepared, and they look great, and they were flying around. And it's just, it's awesome. It's a fun first day.
Jason and Brian, and then Michael.
2 questions. One, what can you tell us about
Now, do you get to ask 2? It sounds like you're cheating the system, man.
A little bit.
Okay.
What can you tell us about Redline, the shirt, and then we saw it out on the field, just how you came up with that?
Yeah, so Redline is just going to be just kind of a, our buzzword, our battle cry for just how we're going to define a couple parts of our program, our effort, our execution, and our accountability. It's really, really simple. One word. All the players know what that means. Or they're in the process of learning what it means and what it looks like. And so that's, I like to make things like that as simple as I can. I like the, kind of our team rules, our, kind of our buzzwords, our mottos. I like them to be very simple to say and simple to understand. And so that's what it is.
And then the 2 newcomers that we saw on the field today, Jared Small and Lachlan Hunter. What can you tell us about them?
Well, I mean, those things happen kind of fast. We're looking for a couple spots to fill, and I think they'll add some competition to those positions. They both played a lot of football, and I'm excited to see what that looks like. That's going to be, that's going to be a heavy evaluation process. Right now, like in terms of what that's going to look like when they play, almost as much as I do.
Well, Brian, Michael, and Troy.
How did today compare to your first day at San Jose, that first year, and then and maybe that year with Coach Tony here in Arizona?
I would say that I think the biggest difference for me the first day here versus the first day at San Jose was I just felt so much better prepared for this day. Right, I've been a head coach for a while now. I know I've been through a lot of first days. I think that I'm also inheriting a more mature football team in this situation. And then the difference between with Coach Tomey, I don't know how old I was, but I know I didn't know much then, so coming looking at it from the position of graduate assistant to being a head coach, like there's a lot of life, there's a lot of football in that 24 years. And so drastically different. My wife would tell you the same because we were newlyweds at the time. Now she's been stuck with me for 24. She maybe doesn't think it's as good of a deal.
Michael and then Troy.
What is the plan for T-Mac as far as building him up over the course of the next month or so?
That's in the hands of our medical staff, and so they have in our strength and conditioning staff and the doctors. So they all have a very clear plan for him. He's making great progress. We're very optimistic about how it looks.
Would you say that in a situation like this with a star player who's very important to your team, who has NFL aspirations, that you want to be cautious,
Sure.
lean on that side?
Sure, we're always going to do what's best for T-Mac. We'll always do what's best for the player in that situation. You know what I mean? Like we don't ever want to rush a player to playing, right? Like so, but we're always those decisions are not coaching decisions ever. Those are medical decisions and player decisions, family decisions.
Troy and then David.
A little bit on that as well. Has it kind of surprised you how fast he's come along and just to the point of where he is right now working with the strength staff? Is it a little ahead of schedule or just where you guys kind of predicted it being?
I think he's where he should be, and that doesn't surprise me at all. First of all, he's very young. He's got a fantastic, he's blessed with this incredible healthy body, right? He's just healing fast and recovering quicker than somebody old like me would.
And then in terms of the offensive line, you guys added a lot there for the transfer portal. What did it feel like having those guys out there and just seeing what they can do on the football field?
And I think I need to watch some film on that. That's, I mean, all that's moving so fast. I'll have a better answer for you that in a couple days or a week.
David and then Justin.
Brent, some of your newcomers were slotted in with the ones. How do you go about making those decisions with guys that you haven't seen? And is it very much like an NFL process where you sign a free agent and you know that that's a guy that's potentially going to be at the top of your depth chart?
I don't know if it's necessarily like that. The NFL thing's so different because they can just grab people in the middle of the season. Like we don't get to do that, right? So for us, it's probably a little more front loaded where we have 30 something days to get the team ready to play. We got to figure out early who has a chance to get in that mix, right? And so I think for us, we're just trying to give everybody a chance early in camp. there's lots of reps for everybody. And then that kind of that pecking order, that depth chart starts to set itself. You know what I mean? And you start to see like, okay, we need to get this guy more or that guy more. So this guy less, that guy less. So you just decide on how it looks when you start, really practicing. And we're in shorts too, right? Like your question about the O-line, like we're in shorts, so it's like, it's really hard to evaluate that stuff.
Are there things that you look at though right away in these first few days to kind of begin that evaluation?
Yeah, every day is an evaluation for players and coaches. Every day.
Justin and Brian and then Jenna.
We saw him in the spring, but we didn't see him out there today. What's the status of Raymond Pulido?
So Raymond Pulido is going to be unavailable this season. And if I have any new information, I'll get it to you.
And then thoughts on left tackle where that stands right now?
That's going to be something that we're going to have to work through over the next, couple weeks. Good news is we got a lot of time to do it.
Brian and then Jenna.
What's the schedule practice-wise as far as when will you expect to go first full pads and maybe first time that you'd be taking guys to the ground?
I'm not sure. I don't like. We have that all planned out. I really don't operate that way. I'm like today. I'm just worried about today, and I think we put shells on day after tomorrow, and so and then the full padded stuff. How much taking people to the ground will do, I'm not sure yet. That's an ongoing staff discussion, or a staff debate, or a staff argument, or whatever you want to call it. But that's always an intense conversation, just because it's so complicated.
Jenna in the back and then Jason.
It's like having some of the conversations with receivers out there. What are those conversations like right now as you're trying to figure out who might join, T-Mac and Montana out there?
Well, I think really just obviously that's a position that I played, that I coached all of my career. So I feel like sometimes there's times where I can see something that, if Bobby's on the other side of the field that he doesn't see. So if I see something, I coach it. And it happens at every position, but it's probably harder for Bobby Wade there. But he's great. He doesn't mind it because and I know how that feels. Having been a receiver coach, there are times where you can't see the other side of the field because you're locked into this combination here, and then something happens over there, and it's 50 yards away. And so if someone can coach it real time, that's better than waiting to coach it off of the film.
And what are you looking for out of that group, like for someone to kind of emerge?
I'm excited about that group. I think the guys that we added this spring, I'm really excited to see what they can do, added post-spring ball. And then I think there's a big group of guys. There's kind of like a log jam there after the first 3 or 4 guys, and someone needs to separate there. I think that's the beauty of football, is that they're all going to get reps, and those reps are going to dictate who moves up the ladder and who doesn't. And so that's a huge part of training camp is, starting those things starting to separate and decide themselves, and we'll make those evaluations daily as we go.
Jason, and last question to Michael.
I know you're still evaluating the offensive line, but when you move guys around, like Jonas Sabanea, for instance, do you consider maybe we should move him to left tackle, or do you just like him where he is? How do you kind of decide in terms of versatility there?
Honestly, a huge part of that is I trust Coach Oglesby to make those determinations. You know what I mean? Now, there are some times where we'll have a discussion with me and the offensive staff, and it'll go back and forth, but I have an incredible amount of faith in Big Josh. And so if he thinks it's a good way to start, then let's see how it looks for a day or two. And if it doesn't look good, like, hey, man, we need to come up with something different, right? But, I think we all know what a good player Big Jonah is. And so, I think he can play anywhere.
Last question to Michael.
In terms of portal acquisition, how would you describe what the program strategy was once you kind of figured out what your personnel looked like?
I think our portal philosophy in general is going to be more of a kind of like how you in the past have recruited junior college players. Like it would be 2 things. It would be like immediate need, like hey, we need someone that can step in and play at this position right now better than we think it's being played. Or it would be, hey, there's a really good player who's been in a place for 1 or 2 years. He can be a really good player for us for 2, 3, 4 years. Right, so we'll evaluate both those things, and so those positions are plugged in to kind of base how the roster is looking. Right, you don't, as much as you can avoid it, you'd like to not be in a position where you're graduating 9 offensive linemen in one season. Right, you would like to have some depth by age, right? And so you're always trying to plug those pieces in. So we might be looking for a guard, and Josh is like, hey, we're senior heavy there like this, or junior and upperclassman heavy. Then I'm saying, okay, we're going high school or portal. It's somewhere in his first or second year. That would be how we would think about it.
All right, that's our time.
All right.